Hey everyone, Ryan here, MandRproductions, and in this video, I'm bringing you 10 LEGO Star Wars prequel set ideas. The most recent LEGO Star Wars prequel UCS set came out last year with the UCS Republic Gunship, and it was the first prequel UCS set in over a decade. They don't seem to happen often, but hopefully they'll be happening more often over the course of the next decade, and hopefully some of these ideas will come to fruition. You are more than welcome to comment your own ideas in addition to my 10 ideas in today's video down in the comments section below, as well as hit the like button while you're there. You are very welcome to do that, especially the liking of the video. It's good for the algorithm. Anyway, this video will be in order from what I think least needs to be made out of my list of 10 sets to what most needs to be made. I have given all of the sets a relatively reasonable price point for what I would expect, along with a minifigure selection. For all of these, essentially it's 1 or 2 minifigs because they're UCS sets, but I chose the minifigs that I thought fit best. And finally, a big thank you to Exotic for whipping up some awesome concept box arts for these sets. Our first setup is from episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and it is the UCS Lucrehulk. A lot of people tell me I pronounced that wrong. Either way, the droid control ship is definitely something that a lot of people, including myself, would love to see from episode 1. I think it could be done at the $350 or so price point. It is something that could include some micro droid fighters and a micro Naboo fighter, so you could have the Anakin fighter scene recreated on top of or around the droid control ship in some way. But this one would look absolutely beautiful as a display model. It will definitely necessitate a big round stand like we can see here for the mock, and the stand would also have to have some extra support for the actual like donut shape of the thing. It's not going to be able to hold itself up from a singular thing in the center. As far as minifigs in this set, I think 2 is the right number, and Nute Gunray and TC-14 to me are probably the 2 best options. It gives us a little something for an alien-like character with Nute Gunray from episode 1, which I don't think we've ever had an episode 1 version of, and then also TC-14, which we could have a special. I wish we could have a chrome version again like we had for May the 4th in 2012, but LEGO doesn't do chroming like that, but kind of, you know, arm printing and side leg printing and stuff like they've done for C-3PO with the UCS Luke's Landspeeder. Next up, from Revenge of the Sith, we have the Invisible Hand, aka General Grievous's ship. This one I would peg at $300. I think it would fit at that price point very well. As much as it's Grievous's ship, as you'll see later in the list, I already have another Grievous minifigure, so I kind of felt like having 2 Grievous figures was a bit of a cop-out for this. But I chose Palpatine with his Episode 3 attire, so he'd have his gray outfit, which we've had before in 2014, but an updated version would be great, and Count Dooku, because Count Dooku is guarding Palpatine, so I just kind of felt like those 2 worked well. And what you could do with this, because there could potentially be the space made, is inside the thicker part of the ship, you could actually build in a slight micro area where you could also house Palpatine and Count Dooku, kind of like a hidden room with a chair and a small area for Count Dooku to stand. Next up, also from Star Wars Episode 3, the Clone Turbo Tank. This is a set that I think, much like the UCS Republic Gunship, fits perfectly at the $350 price range. It is one that could go either way as far as being something made to work and play with minifigures or not. That's not something I particularly care about or look for most of the time in a UCS set, and it's not something I would look for in this particular one, but it could make for an excellent, very large display model. I could see them even going higher in price, although I just don't feel like the Clone Turbo Tank necessarily needs it. We have the 2 figures being Commander Gree and Yoda for me, because this would be based off Kashyyyk, and I am split. I don't think they would ever do these 2 figures in the same set because Yoda cuts off Commander Gree's head, but never say never. And the alternate to that, of course, is potentially, throwing in Clone Wars figures instead, because you can always just switch the figures. The vehicle, I believe, is generally the same between the 2 eras there, and so you could put in some Clone Wars figures. I mean, there's a litany of characters that you could include with that, but I still think Commander Gree and Yoda from Episode 3 is probably the best choice. Now, at number 7 for prequel UCS sets I think need to be made the most, also from Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, General Grievous's Starfighter, or the Soulless One. This one would definitely fit the bill for $200, and the Soul minifig would of course be General Grievous. This is one that would be a perfect UCS set. They have made General Grievous's Starfighter a few times in a smaller scale for LEGO Star Wars, and I think the vehicles generally have been very well built, and it would be very interesting to see them do a much much larger version, kind of like how they did the A-Wing. They have done a UCS set with General Grievous, or of General Grievous, before, back in 2008, but it was literally a statue of General Grievous. So getting a ship in UCS form, I think, would be really fitting, especially given how much of a beloved character General Grievous is. The fourth set in a row from Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, the ARC 170 Starfighter. I suppose this could, of course, be based in the Clone Wars, but Episode 3 is just kind of the movie it was in, so it's kind of the one you gravitate towards. Anyway, $200, again, much like the Grievous Starfighter, definitely is just the perfect fit for this one price-wise. Although I could definitely see this one reaching as high as $250 or $300, depending on the scale because of the cockpits. I mean, it definitely could get up there in piece count. But regardless, this would be a fantastic UCS set with the S-foils able to be opened, perhaps some cockpit detail that would be excellent. You've got the big engines. I mean, this is just dying to be made as a UCS set for LEGO Star Wars. I would wager to say it's undoubtedly the most iconic clone Starfighter, so, you know, I think it definitely has that going for it. As far as the two minifigs go, I chose Captain Jag and a clone pilot. I think those just work. We see Captain Jag in Episode 3, and of course, you know, you throw in another clone pilot so you can have two. Perhaps 3 is the right number, though, so you can actually have enough to fill all the pilot seats, but I wouldn't really necessitate that. I think 2 works perfectly fine because the seats wouldn't actually be for the minifigs. They would just go on the stand. And into the top 5 we go with a highly requested UCS set. I get comments about this one all the time. The MTT from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This one I have pegged at $400, although I could certainly see it going for as high as $500 or as little as $300. It really just depends on the direction LEGO would go with this. However, the thing with this one is, do you make it, and do you make it minifig scale or battle droid scale so that you can actually fit in 100 battle droids or whatever? Because it's definitely on the table that an MTT scaled up from what we've had in the past could work in that way where it is just this big playset. Kind of like I mentioned with the Clone Turbo Tank, you could make it so it works with minifigs, and this is one that could be like that. You know, we have sets like the General Grievous Starfighter or the ARC 170 where obviously if they came out as UCS sets, they would be very upscaled, which I personally very much like, but the MTT being upscaled from its previous models really just brings it more in line with what would be minifig scale. So I could see them definitely working in some play functions to this UCS display set. It wouldn't need a stand, so you could definitely save some pieces there. You just need a little plaque. But as far as minifigs go, I think a battle droid would be really good, or actually a lot of battle droids would be very good with this one. Of course, with the existence of the UCS Gunship, there is an ideal set to pair with that, and that would be a UCS AT-TE. It's totally feasible that LEGO could release one in the $350 range as well, based off Episode 2 Attack of the Clones, and to me, there are no two better minifigures for this set than Mace Windu and a clone commander that can also double as a pilot for your AT-TE. It's a tried and true minifig selection that everyone seemed to love the first time around, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The third most needed prequel UCS set, in my opinion, is Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator, of course, from Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This one I think would need to be a little bit more expensive than the $200 price tag. I would peg it at $250, although I could see LEGO getting in the $300 to $350 range with this one. But this is a ship that LEGO has made 4 different playset models of, and it would be really great to finally get a UCS one. As far as minifigs go, there's only one you would need: Darth Maul, and it would be kind of neat if it came with his speeder bike too. I'm not sure if his speeder bike should be scaled to fit the figure on it, or if it would make more sense to upscale it to fit with the upscaled Sith Infiltrator. Either way, the Sith Infiltrator with Darth Maul's speeder bike and the 3 little probe droids that he sends out is definitely optimal. This next idea is definitely one of my favorites that I have on my list, and it's a Anakin and Obi-Wan Starfighter UCS combo set. Why release them separately when you can release them together? I think it just makes a ton of sense to pair these two together and do them both at the same time as one single UCS set. It's an iconic duo from the opening scene of Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. To me, it's just a no-brainer to put the pair together as one set. And on top of that, I feel like if you made one of these, it would cost like $125, which is not a price point that LEGO jumps at for UCS sets, so I would peg this one at $250 for the combo. And then as far as the minifigs go, I think Anakin and Obi-Wan are the obvious easy choices here, and as long as LEGO's a little bit careful not to reuse the burnt versions of the figures again, I think we would be all clear here. So this could be a legendary set, definitely using our best Episode 3 Anakin and Obi-Wan figures ever in this one, with dual molded legs for Anakin and Obi-Wan would be incredible. We still haven't had that yet for the Episode 3 version, so that little something extra for UCS sets would definitely be appreciated here. And to me, the set that I want the most, and the set that I think needs to happen the most out of every possible prequel UCS set, is a UCS Venator class Star Destroyer. It's a beautiful looking ship. It's one that LEGO has made once in Playscale and pretty much butchered as far as looks goes. Look, it's still a legendary set. I like it, but I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of ugly. Anyway, this would be a fantastic model to see done in UCS. I've taken a look at a custom one on the channel, and I was really impressed by that, but I know LEGO could do way better than even that one, so I'd be very interested to see what they could come up with for a $500 price point. I don't think a Venator should or needs to be as big or as expensive as something like the UCS Star Destroyer, but it still needs enough of a budget to allow it to be as accurate and cool looking as it could be. I think what Exotic has used for the box art here really represents what I would expect a UCS Venator to look like very well for that $400 or $500 price tag. As far as minifigs go, I mean, you could really include anything from the Clone Wars or Episode 3 that has anything to do with a Venator. For me, I just kind of went OG Clone Wars for the nostalgia of it, with a Clone Wars Anakin and regular Phase 1 Clone Trooper, because why not? Definitely could use updated versions of both of those. So the UCS Venator could be an amazing UCS set, and it's certainly something that I hope we get by the end of the decade. Those are my 10 best LEGO Star Wars prequel UCS set ideas. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think about my ideas in the comments below, and if you have any ideas of your own, definitely tack them on down there. I'm sure the LEGO Star Wars designers will be reading. They claim to be active in the community after all. Anyways, you can check out more LEGO Star Wars set ideas on the end screen now.